Hello everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday evening here on our YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, you'll find lectures here on the wisdom of Kabbalah. We have 3 semesters of lectures you can watch to see what the wisdom of Kabbalah is, and if you like it, you can join like-minded people and study at Kabbalah.info at our KABU Academy. In the interim, though, we're going to carry on with articles from a book called Shamati, which means I heard, and they're a bit advanced material, so you can always check the first 3 semesters and get an idea on what the wisdom of Kabbalah is. So as usual, we'll carry on with our articles. This is Shamati number 6. What is support in the Torah in the work? If you have any questions, as usual, shoot them through and we'll try to answer them together from the material. All right, so let's get started. Shamati number 6, what is support in the Torah in the work? When one learns Torah and wants all his actions to be in order to bestow, one must try to always have support in the Torah. Support is considered nourishment, which is love, fear, elation, and freshness, and so on. One should extract all this from the Torah, meaning the Torah should give him these results. Okay, just straight off the bat, one thing we should know, when we're talking about Torah, we're talking about the teaching. Okay, so our Torah for us is the wisdom of Kabbalah. So when we talk about Torah, sometimes people relate it to a specific book called the Torah, and that is also a spiritual book. However, though, when we say Torah, we're talking about the teaching, and the word Torah comes from Teorah, which means lighting or enlightenment, let's say, and from the words Horah. Horah means a user manual. So if I use the manual correctly, if I use the teaching correctly, I should reach some kind of an enlightening, right? So that's what Torah means, and our Torah is the wisdom of Kabbalah. However, when one learns Torah and does not have these results, it is not considered Torah, since Torah refers to the light clothed in the Torah. As our sages said, I've created the evil inclination, I have created the Torah as a spice. This refers to the light in it, since the light in it reforms him. We should also know that the Torah is divided into 2 discernments. 1, Torah, 2, mitzvah, a commandment. In fact, it is impossible to understand these 2 discernments before one is awarded walking in the path of the Creator by way of the counsel of the Lord is with those who fear him. This is so because when one is in a state of preparation to enter the Creator's palace, it is impossible to understand the path of truth. All right, so we have to make another note here. All right. Let's read this again. We should know that the Torah is divided into 2 discernments. So there are 2 things I should get from the teaching. Okay, one is Torah, which means light. I should get an enlightenment. I should have some kind of an inner wisdom, a change. And the second is called a mitzvah, which means a commandment. It comes from the word tzivui, which means an order, like an order of the Creator. But we need to think of it. We need to think of mitzvah as a correction. Okay? So don't take it as a literal word, because the laws of nature are also the commandments of the Creator. What does that really mean? It means that the way we should be doing things in a correct way. Right? So when we do a mitzvah, it means a person has changed a trait in him from a self-receiving mode to a bestowing mode. So if I can turn my nature from reception to bestowal, that's called a commandment for that specific desire that I'm using. In fact, it's impossible to understand these 2 discernments before one is awarded walking in the path of the Creator by the way of the counsel of the Lord is that with those who fear him. Now, this is also really important because a lot of people do all kinds of commandments in their religions, all right? And they believe and they think that this is some kind of a commandment from the Creator, which they should be doing. And I have all the respect for that, but that's not what we're talking about. Okay? In the wisdom of Kabbalah, a person cannot really do a commandment unless one is connected to the Creator. Okay, and this is a really important point we need to underline because everything we do in corporeality, in our religious beliefs and so on, they don't really include the Creator in it because we don't feel the Creator. So the Kabbalist is saying, listen, if you really want to do something with respect to spirituality, with respect to the Creator, you have to first feel the Creator. Otherwise, how can you do anything for anybody if you don't see them, hear them, feel them? Okay. So this is why the excerpt carries on and it says you have to be awarded walking in the path of the Creator. Walking in the path of the Creator means that I need to attain the attribute of bestowal before I can do a commandment. And that's by way of the counsel of the Lord is with those who fear him. Now, what does it mean to fear the Creator? This is also something we need to understand. It doesn't mean I have to fear the Creator because he can send me to hell, like in religions. Fear of the Creator means that I should be afraid of using my nature egoistically. Okay, that I should be afraid of. Why? Because if I'm opposite to the Creator, then it means we are disconnected. Okay, we don't have a connection. We don't love each other. We don't care about each other. It's like two people having a relationship, right? If one of them is all loving towards the other person, but the other person is all egoistic, it's not really a good relationship, is it? So it's not really going to work out. So it's the same kind of thing here. A person has to be in the same frequency of bestowal, right, towards the Creator. Then that means he's walking in the path of the Creator. And then I should be afraid of being egoistic because that's going to disconnect me from the Creator. And that's what the fear of the Creator is. This is so because when one is in a state of preparation to enter the Creator's palace, it is impossible to understand the path of truth. So if I have not yet discovered the Creator, the attribute of bestowal, if I've not taken on a second nature called bestowal, there's no way I can understand the truth. It's just not possible. All right. So all these things that normally people do in their religions and so on, it's all good, fine. But the wisdom of Kabbalah says, listen, how can you do anything for the Creator if you don't have a connection with the Creator? It's just, not really going to happen, is it? However, it is possible to give an example that even a person in the preparation period can somewhat understand. It is as our sages said, Rav Yosef said, a commandment protects and saves while practiced. The Torah protects and saves both when practiced and when not practiced. The thing is that when practiced refers to when one has some light. One can use this light that he obtained only while the light is still with him, as now he is in gladness because of the light that shines for him. This is discerned as a commandment, meaning that he has not yet been rewarded with the Torah, with the revelation, but elicits a life of holiness only from the light. This is not so with the Torah. When one attains some way in the work, one can use the way he has attained even when he is not practicing it. That is, even while he does not have the light. This is so because only the illumination has departed from him, but he can use the way that he attained in the work even when the illumination leaves him. All right, so this is really important to understand. The Torah protects and saves both when practiced and when not practiced. So in other words, this person is studying, okay, all the time. So he's studying the Torah, he's studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, right? That's our Torah. And during the study, he will have elevations, okay, ups, and he will have declines, right? He'll have a fall because life is all about ups and downs. So is spirituality. During his elevated states where he gets some good discernment from the study, then that's the time when he's practicing the Torah, which means he got some light from it, some elevation, right? And the other one is when he's still practicing, but he doesn't have any elevation because he just received a fall, all right? He's received a decline, and that's due to his increase of revelation in his egoism, right? So he's got more ego revealed to him. So all of a sudden, his coarseness is now a point of falling, right? So he's falling from his level. So he's going up and down. So all the ups are him with the light, and that's where he can feel holiness. And this is in the preparation mode as well, right? So he hasn't yet revealed the Creator, but in time, as we study, we receive these ups and downs, and the ups and downs start to give us discernments of light and darkness. So, okay, so these both states are very important. But in either case, the person is studying the wisdom of Kabbalah. He hasn't stopped studying. Still, we must know that while practiced, a commandment is greater than the Torah when not practiced. When practiced means that now one receives the light. This is called practice when one receives the light in it. So when a person is studying and he understands through the study how he needs to change or how he can apply a change and becomes that change, then that's called practiced. Hence, while one has the light, a mitzvah is more important than the Torah when one has no light, meaning when there's no vitality of the Torah. On one hand, the Torah is important because one can use the way one has acquired in the Torah. On the other hand, it is without vitality called light. In a time of commandment, one does receive vitality called light. Therefore, in this respect, a mitzvah is more important. So in either way, I have to study, and at one point in time, as I'm studying, what should happen is that I should get vitality, which means some kind of enlightenment. And that's called the practice of the Torah, which should actually make sense, right? Make sense. Because it's like I'm studying something, and at first I don't know anything about the topic. I don't know what I'm doing, how I'm doing. But as I study, I get discernments from that. And then as soon as I get discernments, then I begin to have some kind of an enlightenment on how to apply something, how to do something. And then all of a sudden things start to click and I start to put one and one together. So then we're walking with one foot and then another foot. And then we're like, all of a sudden we're walking on the path. So that kind of a discernment needs to accumulate, right? Thus, when one is without vitality, he is considered wicked, since now he cannot say that the Creator leads the world in the manner of good who does good. So this is a person who just had a fall, all right? So he's declined, his increase in egoism, his increase in coarseness doesn't let him see the world in the proper way, that the Creator is doing good, right? If we look at the world as well, many of us see very horrific things, right? Why? Because we're not really corrected. We can't see reality in a corrected way because our vessel is broken. Okay. This is called that he is called wicked since he condemns his maker, as now he feels that he has no vitality and has nothing to be glad about. So he can say that now he thanks the Creator for giving him delight and pleasure. If we are having a fall, obviously we feel bad, right? And when we feel bad, we don't, look up to the sky and thank the Creator. Okay, it just doesn't make sense. Also, it won't work. If I feel bad, it means I'm already cursing the Creator. I don't have to do lip service. I don't have to curse the Creator with my mouth. If I feel bad, it's already cursing. But this should this should allow me to realize that, I am not one with the Creator. So obviously, I see things in a corrupted way. And therefore, when I see it in a bad way, I can't really justify the creator. And that's called being wicked. So we have to get out of that state and bring ourselves to a state where we can see the truth from the perspective of the creator. One cannot say that he believes that the creator leads his guidance over others in a manner of good and doing good, since we understand the path of the Torah is a sensation in the organs. If one does not feel the delight and pleasure, what does it give him that another person has delight and pleasure? If one had really believed that providence is revealed as good and doing good to his friend, that faith should have brought him delight and pleasure from believing that the Creator leads the world with a guidance of delight and pleasure. If it does not bring him vitality and joy, what is the benefit in saying that the Creator does watch over his friend with a guidance of good and doing good? All right, so this is important to understand. Now, the Kabbalists are saying the Creator is good and he's doing good. But when we look at the world, well, we see a horrific world, and it's really difficult for us to believe what the Kabbalists are saying. And it's true from our perspective, the way we see things is that the world is really, really bad. All right? So that's from our perspective. However, though, think of it like a scientist. A scientist has an assumption. And then through testing and trialing and all kinds of experimentation, what the scientist does is try to prove that the assumption is correct. Well, this is pretty much what we're doing, right? We're assuming, according to what the Kabbalists are saying to us, that the Creator is good, that does good, despite the fact that we see a really bad world, okay? So on top of that, what we have to do then is take it as an assumption, not a belief, as an assumption that the Creator is good that does good. And I have to come to see things from his perspective. So the laboratory, the experimentation, and everything that's going on in my personal work in the wisdom of Kabbalah is me trying to get myself to that level where I can see creation just like the Creator is seeing it. If one had really believed that providence is revealed as good and doing good to his friend, that faith should have brought him delight and pleasure from believing that the Creator leads the world with the guidance of delight and pleasure. If it does not bring him vitality and joy, what is the benefit in saying that the Creator does watch over his friend with guidance of good and doing good? The most important is what one feels in one's own body, whether he feels good or bad. A person enjoys his friend's pleasure only if he enjoys his friend's benefit. In other words, we learn that with the sensation of the body, the reasons are not important. It is only important if he feels good. In that state, he says that the Creator is good and does good. If one feels bad, he cannot say that the Creator behaves with him in a manner of good and doing good. Thus, precisely if he enjoys his friend's happiness and receives high spirits from this and feels gladness because his friend feels good, then he can say that the Creator is a good leader. Now, here we are. You understand that we have to go through some kind of a change in perception of reality. Because in life, we're always thinking about how we feel, just like he says here in the article, right? We're just concerned about feeling good or bad. But the way that true reality, the good reality, is felt according to our love towards others and their feeling of happiness, which is causing us happiness. Okay, so we really have to go through a shift here, right? It's just a completely whole different ball game, whole different approach to life, and trying to see things from the good feelings of others, and their well-being is the thing that should be making me feel good. Once that kind of a perception is reached, we have to also understand that the Creator is the one doing the good to the other person. Okay, now remember, the whole of the wisdom of Kabbalah talks about how to perceive the Creator while we live here. Okay. And from that perception, raise ourselves to the pinnacle of existence, right? Which is existing at the level of the creator in consciousness. So we have to relate to everything from a cause and consequence perspective, that there's a creator, a reality which is created by the creator that is working on us, surrounding us, working on us from all sides. And from that reality, I have to now flip myself and relate to reality from a whole different nature, which is love and bestowal. Then we can come to this equivalence of form with the creator, where we perceive a reality of complete goodness. But as long as we are in our egoistic nature, it is impossible for anyone to be happy at a consistent rate. Okay, we're just going to have ups and downs. It's just going to be a horrific world, and we never know when we're going to die, and anything can happen, good or bad, and it's just full of surprises. And the bad thing is, it's mostly bad surprises. Right? If one has no joy, he feels bad. Thus, how can he say that the Creator is good and does good? Therefore, a state where one has no vitality and gladness is already a state where he has no love for the Creator and ability to justify his Maker and be happy, as is appropriate with one who is granted with serving a great and important king. So if we feel bad, it already is like we hate the Creator. All right. So this is why we need to kind of correct the attitude. And this is also why we, really have bad moments in life. If you look at the world with all the wars and, bad things that are happening, it's really hard for us to say, there's a good creator and he's doing everything great, because at the end of the day, let's say he's not doing anything and we're doing all the evil, but didn't he create us anyway? So he created us. He created us defective, and now the world's a big mess. So at the end of the day, it's still the creator who's done the mess, right? So, okay, so at the end of the day, he's doing the mess because he's the cause and the consequence is his responsibility. So what can we do? We can't do much. The only thing we can do is try to change ourselves and raise ourselves, like grow up. Okay, we have to grow up like children grow up so we can understand the true life, the true reality, just like we have to grow up and understand the true life here at this level. Now, in general, we must know that the upper light is in a state of complete rest, and the whole expansion of the holy names occurs by the lower ones. This is a very important little sentence. He squeezed it here somewhere in the middle, as you can see, but it's very important to understand. The Creator has done everything. And in religions, you'll see all kinds of people in religions, all religions. They're always praying to the Creator for something, okay, so that their life can change. Okay, this is a wrong attitude because we're praying for Him to give us a better life as if He already doesn't know what He's doing. So I have to tell Him with my prayers that He made a big mistake, the way He's treating me, and He needs to change. Okay, so that is not the right way to make a prayer. A prayer is obviously done, but a prayer is a desire in the wisdom of Kabbalah. And because we're going through so many ups and downs, going through all kinds of descents and all kinds of dark periods, a person needs to want to be like the Creator. So a real prayer in the wisdom of Kabbalah, a genuine, a realistic one, right? Let's call it realistic, is to want to grow up. And this is why we study the wisdom of Kabbalah. We want to elevate ourselves to a higher level of perception. And this is the only prayer. In general, we must know that the upper light is in a state of complete rest, and the whole expansion of the holy names occurs by the lower ones. So through the desire of the person, the already existing light or the Creator or his relationship to us can come to us if we hold the right vessel. But if we don't have a right vessel, the whole place is full of light, but we're not going to see any light. Just like in space, it's all dark. Why? Because if the sun rays are not hitting an object, you're not going to see the light. Right? So how do we know there's light in space? Well, you stick something up, and if the light comes to it, it reflects. That's why there's light. So same with us. If we don't have a proper vessel, something to grab the light, something to bounce off of, then that's not really going to happen, is it? In other words, all the names that the upper light has come from the attainment of the lower ones. So we need vessels to attain the light. This means that the upper light is named according to their attainments. Put differently, one names the upper light according to the way in which one attains it, meaning according to one's sensation. This is why there are a lot of names given to the Creator, right? They say the whole of the Torah is the Creator's names. I mean, how can you have so many names, right? The Torah is like the 5 books of Moses. It's a lot of words there. Why? Because this is how a person feels the Creator. Just like when we feel people, right? If I feel like somebody loves me, cares about me, I say, wow, that's a really caring person, a loving person, okay, a nice person. Or if it's the opposite, it's a bad person, okay? But at the end of the day, we define people according to how we feel them. So the Creator then, when he has the right vessel to attain the light, which is the Creator's attitude towards the person, the right vessel, the right desire gets the right light, then you have this union between the person and the Creator in that specific desire, then that is your point of unity with the Creator. Then that light can now have a definition. If one does not feel that the Creator is giving him anything, what name can he give to the Creator if he does not receive anything from him? Rather, when one believes in the Creator, every single state that one feels, he says that it comes from the Creator. In that state, one names the Creator according to one's feeling. If one feels happy in the state he is in, he says that the Creator is called the good who does good, since this is what he feels, that he receives good from him. In that state, one is called tzaddik, righteous, since the matzdik justifies his maker, the Creator. All right, so another technical word here. Tzaddik means a person who can justify the Creator. Comes from the word lehatzdik, to justify. Okay, and it means that whatever the Creator has done, is doing, right now, as I perceive it, is the right thing to do. And if I was in his place, I would do exactly the same. Okay, that's what it means to really justify him. If one feels bad in the state he's in, he cannot say that the Creator is sending him good. Therefore, in that state, one is called Rasha, wicked, since he marshia, condemns his maker. However, there is no such thing as in between. When one says that he feels both good and bad in his state, instead one is happy or unhappy. All right, so we either feel good or bad. There's no in between. Even if I say I don't feel anything, good or bad, that's actually a bad feeling, because our nature is to want to feel good. Right? So I want to feel good. So even if I feel neutral, it's a bad thing. Right? This is why in the wisdom of Kabbalah, they say you can only feel good or bad. There's no in between. This is the meaning of what our sages said, the world was not created, etc., but either for the complete wicked or for the complete righteous. This is because there's no such reality where one feels good and bad together. When our sages say that there is in between, it is that with the creatures who have a discernment of time, you can say in between, in 2 times, one after the other, as we learn that there is a matter of a sense and a sense. These are 2 times. Once he's wicked and once he's righteous. But at the same time, for one to feel good and bad simultaneously, this does not exist. It follows that when they said that the Torah is more important than a commandment, it's precisely when he does not engage in it, meaning when he has no vitality. Then the Torah is more important than a commandment which has no vitality. All right, this is really important because a lot of people fall off the bandwagon and off the path because they don't understand this little equation here. When we study, we're having ups and downs. And when people study spirituality, they think they're going to grab a pair of wings and start flying in the clouds somewhere. Now, unfortunately, that's not going to happen because life's full of ups and downs. And especially in the wisdom of Kabbalah, you are going to go through a lot of ups and downs. So both of those states are a requirement. When you're going through a descent, you're obviously in a state of darkness. When you're in a state of darkness, you have to keep your framework. That's why we have a framework. Because if you don't have a framework and you fell, you are a goner. There is nothing that can hold you. It's like in life as well. If I have to go to school, I have to go. It's a framework. Even if I don't feel good about going to work or going to school or doing anything, if I feel like I've got to do this, then I've got to do it. At the end of the day, I've finished school and I can get a job or I can do a profession or I can do something. Okay? So despite the fact that I don't want to do things, I do it in life. This is the same thing with the wisdom of Kabbalah. So when I'm going through a bunch of descents, one after the other, it's like no end to it. All right? It's just one slap after another. It's like, we used to have these Turkish movies in the 70s. It's like these slaps all over the place. People used to fly around, they're exaggerating the movies. Okay. And it's like one after the other, you're getting slapped all of a sudden. Right, like in those old movies, and everybody's flying around and jumping up and down. And that's exactly how it is. But you have to think of it from a perspective that if you don't have a hard time, then you don't learn anything, right? In our work as well, right? In our jobs. When do we learn stuff? We start doing it, and then we encounter the difficulty of doing it in a good, professional, correct manner. Then, as we do it more and more and more, despite the fact that we face difficulties, we begin to become experts in that thing. Okay. And that expert process is taking time, obviously. Right? So when it is taking time and I'm going through descents, I need to make sure I keep my framework and I keep working and working and working. This is so because when one cannot receive anything from a commandment which has no vitality. But with the Torah, which is the teaching, right? When we're studying, one still has a way in the work from what he had received while he was practicing the Torah. Although the vitality has departed, the way remains in him, and he can use it. There's a time when a commandment is more important than the Torah, meaning when there's vitality in the commandment and no vitality in the Torah. Thus, when not practiced, meaning when one has no vitality and gladness in the work, one has no other counsel but prayer. However, during the prayer, one must know that he is wicked, because he does not feel the delight and pleasure that exists in the world. Although he makes calculations that he can believe that the Creator gives only good. Yet, not all the thoughts that one has are true in the way of the work. In the work, if the thought leads to action, meaning a sensation in the organs, so the organs feel that the Creator is good and does good, the organs should receive from this vitality and gladness. If one has no vitality, that good are all the calculations if now the organs do not love the Creator because he imparts them with abundance. Therefore, one must know that if he has no vitality and gladness in the work, it is a sign that he is wicked because he's unhappy. All the calculations are untrue if they do not lead to action, meaning to a sensation in the organs that he loves the Creator because he imparts delight and pleasure to the creatures. All right. Any questions? Got one question. It's okay is asking, if we are not to pray for ourselves, is it more correct to pray for the friends to grow up, to grow their vessels in order to bestow? Or do we also pray for our own vessel to be in order to bestow? We can pray for ourselves to be in bestowal too. Okay, we can. And I'll tell you why. I mean, obviously praying for the friends is the best thing, but what is really bestowal? If we define it correctly, one should also pray for himself to be corrected in order to be bestowal, because if I'm bestowal, then I can do good to others. Okay? Because in our egoistic state, I'm only causing harm. So if I actually want to change to be in bestowal, then I'm actually praying to the benefit of somebody else. Because in bestowal, I'm not going to think about myself at all. Okay. But if the friends need help, which they do, and we all do, and we all will need help until the last, the last state, then we should all pray to each other, because everybody's prayer for the friend is really helpful. It really counts. It gives a lot of power to the friends as well. Mahir is asking, dear teacher, how can I practically develop the feeling that I'm working in the right direction of the Creator's existence? The only way to feel things is if I work towards the friends, because there I get emotional feedback. Okay? It's like you're married, right? So, yeah, when you behave nicely, your wife gives you good feedback, right? And if you're a bad boy, then you're going to get bad feedback. But if you are on your own, you're not going to get any feedback. Okay, because we never know if your behavior is good or bad, because there's no one to measure it towards. You see what I mean? So same in our spiritual work. A person has to work in the group and work towards the love of friends. Then I can see where I'm, making mistakes. I can see where I don't love the friends. Okay. And so I'd want to change. How will the Creator show me that I am on the right pathway to attain the Torah? Well, you have to use the group as a measurement tool. All right. This is why we need an environment. We need the guide, the sources, and the friends. Those three things are a must. Another question from Isoke. Also, does this prayer also need to be a prayer of many from the 10? Yes, we need a prayer of the many, which means all of us should pray for the friends. If we all pray for the friends, then everybody's prayer gets accepted quickly, because everybody's praying for their friend. So the Creator doesn't have any other choice but to accept the prayer, because nobody's praying for themselves. If I was to pray for myself, then the Creator's like, I don't know. I don't know about you. So you're a bit of a dodgy character. Okay. But if I'm praying for the friends, then the Creator says, well, all he does all day is just pray for the friends. Okay. So then I've got something up my sleeve. It's like having an ace up your sleeve, because if the Creator says, hey, I was praying for the friends, you always have something to say. Right? It's good to have something to say to the Creator. Okay. Like, hey, I gave it a shot and I gave it a good shot, but you weren't around. Okay. So if you really give your best effort all the time and you're trying, and if the Creator says, well, what did you do? Well, what do you think I did? I've been studying for years, trying to get corrected, praying for the friends. Where have you been? You never came to the party. Right. So, yeah, if a person does the best they can, there's always, a person obviously can always add, but it's good for a person to keep pushing and pushing and doing, so that not just to say something to the Creator, but to justify why we want to change to ourselves. That's the important thing. The Creator doesn't need any justification from, from our side. It doesn't really matter for him. What matters is to us, why we want to change, why we need to change, why if we don't change, we're going to keep having a life full of calamities. Right? So we as human beings need to come to an understanding that life requires us to change, and we have to, put our weight in and do the best we can if we want to have a good, better life. All right? And this is what the wisdom of Kabbalah is trying to take us to, a good level of existence, a higher level of existence, where we can always have this connection with the Creator and always feel this perfection, this serenity, understanding, and see and feel that the world is good and the Creator is doing good. Okay. Right, yeah, so that finishes this article. All right, so in summary, what we have to do is study the wisdom of Kabbalah, which is our Torah, okay, and correct ourselves, which means bring ourselves from an egoistic intention to a bestowing intention, which is called a commandment. And a person can only do that if he feels the Creator. But if he's in the preparation period where he hasn't got any spirituality yet, but he wants to get spiritual, then he will go through ups and downs, and he will still feel some kind of an illumination called light, which will give him an elevated feeling, which we call an ascent, which then is followed by a descent. And descents can be many, as we know, okay? But one needs to keep one's framework and continue the path and go through all the ups and downs, because all the downs actually are more beneficial for him than the ups, because you understand at a greater depth of what your nature is and what it needs to change. The elevated states, the ascents, are not that useful, to be honest. Okay. The best states are the descents if you want to advance, because it's always through the difficulties you start thinking. It's the same thing in life. I've got difficulties and I start thinking, how am I going to get out of this stuff? But if I'm in a, saturated mode, if everything is honky-dory, then I'm like, well, let's have some more fun. Okay, so there's no real room for advancement. Your brain is all of a sudden more calm. There's nothing happening. But if you're going through a descent, your brain's like, shh. So it's like working full on trying to get out of that state. Okay, and this is why the Torah is important and it must be maintained as a study framework. All right, and if we learn properly, we should go through a lot of ups and downs, build a lot of desire, which the vessel will then come to an equivalence of form with what the Creator wants to give us. Right? And that's why we can't really expect anything else from the Creator, like he says, because the Creator did everything in the beginning of creation. Okay, so now from our side, we have to adapt ourselves to the light so we can get the light. All right, and that's called this connection with the Creator. And all of the connections that we build with the Creator are called the names of the Creator, which are all the words in the Torah. All right, does that make sense? Okay, all right. At the end of the day, we just have to keep studying. Okay, so it's like Digital Bread is asking, who is the I that needs to change if everything is in the Creator's hands? Yes, but even if everything is in the Creator's hands, do we still feel bad? We do. And despite all our crying for thousands of years, has the Creator made the world a better place? Certainly not. So obviously there's something that needs to change. And that change is from the created being. Okay, this is why in the article it mentions it, that we must do something from below upwards. There's another Shamati article about that as well. Maybe it's called a prayer. Not quite sure. Okay, but we have to understand that without our work from below, nothing can really happen. This is why we just had a Congress as well, where the topic was connecting with there's none else besides him. But you can't connect with there's none else besides him unless you work in the state of, if I am not for me, who is for me? So, yeah, all right. There's none else besides him is for us. If we're not in spirituality, it's a slogan. Okay. It's a slogan because we're not in it. Okay. We need to come to reveal that there's none else besides him. And to want to reveal there's none else besides him can only be with our work, with our efforts. Right? And then will we see that there's none else besides him? Yeah, we will. But by that time, it'll all be over anyway. Because while we're doing the effort, it always feels like I'm getting up in the morning. I'm doing the work in the group. I'm translating. I'm, doing. It's always me who is doing. That's how we feel life. I am doing, not feeling like the creator is making me do things. Although I can promise you that if you work well, even without attaining spirituality, you will feel that there is something flowing with you and letting you do things, and that you are not really feeling like you're doing it, but it won't stick around. You lose that sensation afterwards. And then again, you will say, if I am not for me, who is for me? Right? All right. That's all for tonight. That's it, right? With the questions, we're all done. Okay, looks like it. So let's all work as if I'm not for me, who is for me? And in the hope of discovering there is none else besides him. Have a good evening, have a good day, depending where you are. All the best, and hopefully we'll hook up next Tuesday.